In the year 2146, the world was quiet, but tense. People lived their lives under the blue sky, but news channels kept talking about strange lights seen in space.
Ow.
Most thought they were just rumors. That changed when a massive ship appeared in the sky above Earth. It was black and silver, larger than any human ship, and it covered the sun for a moment as it moved into orbit. From this ship came a message. The voice was sharp and clear, speaking in perfect English, but it was cold. The speaker was Commander Valera of the Drak-3 Empire. Her face appeared on every screen, her eyes bright and hard, her armor shining like metal fire. She said, in a tone that left no doubt she meant it, "Humans will kneel." The United Earth Council gathered in a tall building in the heart of the capital. Leaders from every continent were present, their faces pale with worry. Sitting at the long table was Captain Laura Grant, a woman who had seen many battles and had never lost her courage. She watched the alien commander's image without fear. Some leaders whispered about surrender. The Drak-3 Empire was known in the galaxy for its power. Their fleets had destroyed whole worlds that resisted them. But Laura could not accept the idea of bowing before an invader. When the council connected to the alien broadcast, Laura spoke before anyone else could. Her voice was calm, but strong enough to echo through the hall. She said, "Kneel first." The room went silent. Some council members stared at her in shock. The alien commander's expression changed for the first time. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment she looked almost amused. But her voice, when it came back, was colder than before. She promised that the humans would regret their defiance. Outside, people across Earth saw the exchange live. Some cheered for Laura's bravery. Others feared she had doomed them all. Laura did not care for fear. He had seen what surrender brought to other worlds. We'd not allow Earth to become another Drak-3 conquest. That night, Laura met with Commander Ethan Brooks in the Defense Command Center. Ethan was known for his clever tactics and for keeping his head even under fire. The two spoke in low voices about what might come next. They knew the Drak-3 would not wait long to strike. Laura believed the enemy would test them with small attacks first, to see how humans responded. Ethan asked if she was ready for what would follow. She looked at the glowing map of Earth's defense network and answered without hesitation, "We will fight, and we will show them we will never kneel." Far above the planet, on her flagship Valera, stood before a great window, looking down at the blue and green world. She thought of the human woman who had spoken to her with such defiance. It was rare for anyone to speak to a Drak-3 commander that way. Valera decided she would not simply crush this world quickly. She would break its will piece by piece. She would start by breaking Captain Laura Grant. The first sign of trouble came at dawn the next day. Human satellites picked up movement from the alien ship.
The smaller craft began to leave its hangars heading toward the outer colonies.
These colonies were far from Earth, but they were home to many people and supplied resources needed for survival. Laura ordered all defense fleets to be ready. Ethan worked on a strategy to defend the colonies without leaving Earth unprotected. The plan would require quick movements and perfect timing. Laura approved it and sent the orders. She knew the first battle was coming, and the outcome would set the tone for everything that followed. In the quiet before the fight, Laura stood alone in the command center, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Valera was preparing her own plans. Laura took a deep breath. She knew she was not just fighting for Earth, she was fighting for the right of her people to stand tall, to face any power without bowing. No matter what came next, she had already made her choice. The first attack came just as Laura expected. 3 Drak-3 ships appeared near the colony of Redwater, their weapons ready. The colony had a small defense fleet, but it was no match for alien firepower. Laura and Ethan moved quickly, leading to human frigates and a cruiser through a shortcut in space to reach the colony before it was destroyed. As soon as they arrived, the sky above Redwater lit up with streaks of energy fire. Laura's voice stayed calm as she gave orders, telling her crews to keep moving and never let the enemy pin them down. Ethan directed the cruiser to focus on the lead Drak-3 ship, hoping to force the others to spread their fire. The human ships dodged and returned fire, their smaller size making them harder targets. On the alien flagship, Valera watched the battle from her command chair. She had not expected the humans to respond so fast. The woman she had seen on the broadcast was now leading her forces with skill. Instead of frustration, Velra felt something strange and excitement she had not felt in years. She ordered her captains to press harder, determined to see how far Laura's bravery would take her. The fight raged for hours. The colony's defenses were damaged, but the humans managed to hold their ground. Laura's frigate, the Horizon, took several hits, shaking the ship and leaving sparks flying from the walls, but she refused to pull back. Each time an alien ship tried to push closer, she found a way to drive it back. When the Drac 3 finally retreated, they left behind a trail of smoke in the thin air of the colony's sky. The people of Redwater gathered in the streets, cheering as the human ships passed overhead. Laura did not stop to celebrate.
Ow.
She knew this was only the beginning. If the Drac 3 were testing their strength, they now knew humans would fight harder than expected. That meant the next attack would be even more dangerous. Back at Earth's defense headquarters, the Council reviewed the battle reports. Some members still feared that open resistance would bring worse destruction. Others, encouraged by the victory, argued that humans could win if they stayed united. Laura reminded them that unity was the only way forward. Division would make it easy for Velra to conquer them. In the days that followed, small battles broke out across human space. The Drac 3 targeted communication stations, fuel depots, and trade routes. Laura and Ethan worked day and night, moving from one hotspot to another. Sometimes they won, sometimes they had to retreat to avoid losing everything. But in every fight, they learned more about the enemy. One evening, after a long day of planning, Ethan brought Laura a report from a patrol near the edge of human territory. A damaged Drac 3 scout ship had been found drifting, its crew taken into custody. Among them was a young alien officer who seemed more frightened than hostile. Laura decided to speak with him personally. The prisoner was held in a quiet room, guarded by 2 soldiers. He looked at Laura with wary eyes as she entered. She asked why he was fighting this war. At first he said nothing. Then, after a long pause, he admitted that not all Drac 3 wanted to fight. Some believed their leaders were wasting lives in a war they could never truly win. This was the first sign that the Empire might not be as united as it appeared. Laura shared the information with Ethan, and the two began to discuss how it could be used. If they could make the Drac 3 doubt their commander, they might weaken their resolve without having to fight every ship head-on. It was a dangerous idea, but it could be the key to surviving the war. Far away, on her flagship, Velra received reports of her forces being slowed by human resistance. She was not angry. In fact, she smiled. She wanted to face Laura again, not through a screen but in person. The thought of forcing the human captain to kneel drove her forward. She began to plan a trap that would bring Laura to her. Laura knew the war could not be won by battles alone. The young Drac 3 prisoner's words stayed in her mind. If the alien empire was divided, there might be a way to turn that to humanity's advantage. She met with Ethan in a quiet strategy room, where maps of star systems glowed in the dim light. They talked about how to find more proof of this division. Ethan suggested a risky mission. A small team could slip behind enemy lines to gather information from one of the Drac 3's outer command stations. This station was rumored to be under the control of a captain who did not fully support Velra. If they could plant false reports there, it might spread doubt within the enemy fleet. Laura agreed, knowing it could be dangerous for everyone involved. She chose a small group of trusted soldiers and pilots. They prepared a fast, quiet ship, stripped of any markings that could link it to Earth. The journey took them through dark and silent regions of space, where only distant stars lit their path. When they reached the enemy-controlled system, they kept their ship hidden in the shadow of an asteroid. Laura and 2 others boarded a shuttle and made their way toward the station. They wore disguised armor taken from captured Drac 3 supplies. It felt strange and heavy, but it allowed them to pass unnoticed at first. Inside the station, the air was colder and the lighting dim. They moved carefully through the corridors, avoiding patrols and keeping to the shadows. Laura found the command center, where alien officers were speaking in their own language. She activated a small device Ethan had given her. It uploaded false battle data into the station's systems, making it appear that Velra's recent decisions had led to unnecessary losses. They had almost completed the upload when an alarm blared. Someone had spotted them. Laura signaled her team to move fast. They ran through the narrow halls, blasters firing behind them as guards gave chase. A bolt of energy scorched the wall beside Laura's head, but she kept running. Reaching the shuttle, they launched quickly and flew toward their hidden ship. The enemy tried to follow, but Ethan had kept the ship ready to jump into faster-than-light travel. Just moments before enemy fire could hit them, they jumped to safety. Back on friendly ground, Laura reviewed the results. The false reports had been sent to several Drak-3 fleets. Within days, human intelligence picked up strange enemy transmissions. Some Drak-3 captains were questioning orders, while others were openly blaming Velra for recent failures. Ethan called it the first real shift in the war. But Laura knew Velra would not stay quiet. The alien commander was too proud to let such doubt spread without striking back. Laura expected a counterattack, and she began strengthening defenses around key human colonies. While the humans worked to prepare, Velra sat in the command chamber of her flagship. She had heard the rumors spreading through her forces. Though she suspected human trickery, she refused to show anger. Instead, she ordered her fleets to prepare for a decisive blow. Her plan was to force Laura into a personal confrontation where strength and will would decide the outcome. Days later, the Drak-3 attacked New Horizon, a large colony with strong defenses. It was a tempting target, one Laura could not ignore. She and Ethan led the fleet to defend it, knowing it might be a trap. As the battle began, enemy ships closed in from multiple sides. Laura realized too late that Velra's goal was not to destroy the colony, but to cut her off from escape. Horizon shook under heavy fire as Laura gave quick orders. She refused to be captured, but she also refused to abandon the colony. For hours, the battle raged. Human ships formed tight formations, protecting each other as they fought their way toward open space. Finally, a gap opened in the enemy lines. Laura's fleet pushed through, but the cost was heavy. Several ships were lost and many lives with them. As they retreated, Laura felt the weight of those losses. She also knew Velra had seen her strength and would not give up until one of them broke. The battle at New Horizon left both sides wounded, but neither ready to stop. Laura spent the next days moving between damaged ships, speaking with crews, and making sure repairs were underway. She did not hide the losses, but she reminded everyone that they had escaped a trap and saved the colony. Her words kept spirits from falling too low. Ethan brought her new intelligence reports. The false data they had planted in the Drak-3 systems was still spreading doubt. But Velra was moving quickly to regain control. She had called her most loyal captains to her flagship, and human scouts believed she was planning something bold. Laura guessed it would be aimed at her directly. Her guess proved correct. A message came through a secure channel. It was Velra herself, standing in her dark command chamber, her armor catching the light. She invited Laura to meet on a neutral space station, away from fleets and armies. It would be a face-to-face talk, but the meaning was clear. This was a challenge. The United Earth Council debated the risk. Many thought it was too dangerous for Laura to go, but Laura believed that meeting Velra could give her a chance to understand her enemy better, and perhaps find a way to end the war without more bloodshed. Ethan insisted on going with her as security. They arrived at the neutral station 2 days later. The place was old, its metal walls scarred from years of use. Small trading ships floated outside, keeping a safe distance from the human and Drak-3 vessels now docked there. Inside, the air felt heavy with tension. Armed guards from both sides stood watching as Laura and Ethan walked toward the meeting chamber. Velra was already inside, standing tall, her gaze fixed on Laura. The two women faced each other across the table. For a moment, neither spoke. It was as if they were measuring each other's will without words. "You've fought well for someone whose world has never faced a true war," Velra said finally. "But it is only a matter of time before humans kneel." Laura met her eyes. "If you want that, you will have to kneel first." A faint smile touched Velra's lips, but it was not friendly. She leaned forward slightly. "I could destroy your fleets and burn your colonies until nothing remains." "Maybe," Laura replied, "but you know it would cost you more than you are willing to lose." The two spoke for over an hour, each refusing to give ground. Velra admitted she respected Laura's courage, but she saw it as wasted on a cause that could not win. Laura countered that courage meant nothing if it was used to oppress others. Neither woman tried to hide her intentions. This was not a negotiation for peace. It was a test of strength. When the meeting ended, nothing had been agreed upon. But as Laura left the room, she knew she had learned something important. Velora was proud, maybe too proud, but pride could be used against her. Back aboard their ship, Ethan asked if the trip had been worth it. Laura nodded. "Now I know how to beat her," she said. "We don't have to crush her fleet. We just have to make her lose face in front of her own people." The next weeks were spent planning. Human fleets began striking Drak 3 supply lines with speed and precision, avoiding large battles, but forcing Valra to chase them. Each raid was designed to make her look slow and unable to protect her forces. The doubt inside the Drak 3 ranks grew louder. Valera tried to answer with larger and larger shows of force, but each time, the humans slipped away before she could deliver a decisive blow. Frustration spread through her fleet. Captains began questioning whether the war was worth the resources it was draining. Laura watched the reports closely. She knew the pressure was building. Drak 3 commander was being pushed into a corner. When the moment came, Laura would be ready to strike in a way that would end the war without destroying everything in its path. The weeks of constant raids began to take their toll on the Drak 3 Empire. Supply lines were stretched thin, and arguments broke out between their captains. Velra's image of perfect control started to crack. Reports of unrest within the fleet reached Laura and Ethan almost every day. Laura knew the time had come to force a final choice. She sent out a series of coordinated strikes, hitting 3 Drak 3 supply depots at once. The attacks were fast and clean, leaving the enemy scrambling to respond. The goal was not to destroy them completely, but to make it clear that Velra could no longer protect her own resources. On the Drak 3 flagship, Velra paced the command deck. Her captains demanded answers, asking why the humans could strike anywhere without being stopped. Some even suggested pulling back to regroup, a suggestion that in the past would have been unthinkable. Velra refused to retreat, but she could feel the loyalty of her people slipping away. Laura and Ethan knew the moment was close. They prepared one last plan, a large public broadcast to the entire Drak 3 fleet. Using captured communication codes, they hijacked the signal and sent a live transmission. On screens across the alien ships, Captain Laura Grant appeared, standing tall and calm. She spoke directly to the Drak 3 soldiers. She told them that the war was draining their resources and costing lives for nothing. She said she did not hate their people, only the rule that demanded submission. She promised that if they stopped fighting, humanity would not seek revenge. Her final words were aimed at Velra herself. "If you want humans to kneel, you must kneel first." The message spread quickly. Some Drak 3 crews cheered it in secret. Others openly refused to follow attack orders. Valera saw the shift happening in real time. She knew if she pushed too hard now, her fleet might turn against her. The breaking point came when one of her most trusted captains refused to launch an attack on a human colony. Instead, he ordered his ships to stand down and return home. This act inspired others to do the same. Valra's war machine began to fall apart from within. Faced with growing rebellion, Valra called for a full withdrawal of her forces. Officially, she claimed it was to protect the Empire from other threats, but everyone knew the truth. The humans had stood their ground, and she could not force them to kneel. When the Drak 3 ships finally left human space, there were celebrations on every world. People danced in the streets, and messages of thanks poured in for Laura and her crews. The United Earth Council declared a day of remembrance for those who had fought and fallen. Laura did not join the celebrations right away. She spent her time visiting the families of those who had been lost in the war. She believed victory meant nothing if the cost was forgotten. Ethan often reminded her that they had achieved something no one thought possible. They had faced one of the strongest empires in the galaxy and had not bowed. In the weeks that followed, small groups of Drak 3 who had abandoned the war came to live among humans. They brought stories of their own struggles and hopes for peace. While some humans still distrusted them, others saw it as a chance to build something better between their peoples. One evening, Laura stood on the observation deck of the horizon, looking out at the stars. Ethan joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the slow drift of distant lights. "Do you think they'll come back?" Ethan asked. "They might," Laura said. "Why, the galaxy is big and there will always be someone who thinks they can make us kneel. But now they know better." Ethan smiled faintly. "And if they forget," Laura's eyes stayed on the stars, "then we'll remind them." The war was over, but the message would last. Humanity had proven that no matter the threat, they would stand tall. And somewhere out in the dark, Valra would remember the day a human captain told her to kneel first.